founded around the same time as Google, but you've heard of them. You probably haven't heard of Clear. But again, that's the way of the software industry. And in fact, there's a very good buddy of mine who's also a graduate of Trinity, who did a doctorate in Stanford in computer science, and Tom Costello, some of the people here might know him. And he was a very talented guy, and I remember meeting him at events in 1997 when I was over in California with Iona, and he was saying, I've got this great idea. He said, search, it's all about search. I said, yeah, that sounds all right. But he was telling me about, he was working at the time, finishing a PhD, and everyone has the Google Foundation anecdote, but working in the AI department at Stanford, they were all into search at the time. And he was saying there's all these other losers, and they just have these kind of, but I've got the right idea. So he literally founded a company called Zift, X-I-F-T, also less well known than Google, also founded in 1999, also working in internet search, and those two companies' tracks diverged as well. And like I say, Zift, you probably haven't heard of, it turned into partly turned into the internet Wayback Machine, which ended up actually eventually being acquired by Google. So Tom made a bit of money out of that in the end. That's the nature of how the thing's going to go. So Cape Clear we went along for about 6 or 7 years, and we grew reasonably big in the end. We were doing about sort of $20 million of revenue and selling kind of infrastructure software essentially to large corporations, similar to what Iona had done, but technically better, but commercially ultimately less successful. So we were never a public company. We got acquired in what year is it now? 2008, 2 years ago. By a company called Workday, which is where I now work. And what's interesting also about the software industry is that this kind of it's kind of like, if you remember the bit in Monty Python where you've got all the People's Liberation Front for the liberation of people, and then so software is quite stovepiped, and there's quite a lot of, to the external observer you say, oh, it's all software, but within that, there's this incredibly, broad spectrum of things that software can do. Obviously, in principle, it can do anything, as we always say to each other, but in practice, the software industry is quite verticalized, it's quite stovepiped, it's quite segmented. And certainly, there are skills and there are approaches that are valid across, all software areas and all software disciplines. But, there are quite broad differences between different areas. So, for most of my career, I worked in infrastructure software. It's what Iona did, plumbing. It's what Cape Clear did, better plumbing, at least in my view. But what I work for now is an applications company. So, the Workday story is quite interesting. You'll probably have heard of Oracle. You've certainly heard of Oracle. You've probably heard of SAP. You may have heard of PeopleSoft. Anyone heard of PeopleSoft? Yeah. So PeopleSoft was, again, another one of these multi-billion-dollar software companies. It was founded by a guy called David Duffield in like the mid-80s, early 80s. And it grew to be one of the 3 kind of biggest application companies. But it essentially got swept up by Oracle, which was surprising because it was a big company that had a market capitalization of about $8 billion at the time of the Oracle acquisition of it. And at the time of that acquisition, Anil Bushri, who was the vice chairman of PeopleSoft, was on the board of Cape Clear. He was a venture capital investor in Cape Clear. And I've never seen anyone age so rapidly as I saw Anil age the year of that takeover. Because, I think that I guess getting acquired by Larry Ellison, in a hostile fashion is not a life experience that's greatly to be recommended. So they went through this literally hell of trying to fight off the Oracle acquisition. So in the end they were unsuccessful. But at least they got the price up by 50%, which certainly helped salve the wounds. But they kind of weren't happy with the experience and felt that there was another chance to kind of, go around the block again. So Anil and Dave Duffield, who was the original founder of PeopleSoft, then co-founded this company called Workday. And again, in this spirit of kind of constant technical innovation and new stuff happening, they said, we're going to do essentially exactly the same thing, but instead of actually taking the software and giving it to you to install on your machines at your office, we'll run it for you, in much the same way that Google host all their services. What we now do is therefore host kind of, finance, compute or finance, HR, other kind of administrative software for large corporations. And this is one of these kind of just disruptive opportunities that arise in the industry where there's what's kind of tediously referred to as a paradigm shift occurring, where people are increasingly, or companies are increasingly unwilling to take on the burden of managing software on their own premises. And if you know anything about software, you know that I guess its defining characteristic is that it doesn't usually do what it was intended to do. And that's just what it is. And kind of if that's happening to you on premise and it's going wrong on premise, that's quite troublesome. Whereas at least if a vendor, a software vendor, is kind of managing and operating it for you, there are in principle fewer ways for it to fail, and therefore it can be delivered more cheaply, and that's all good. So what we do now is we host this kind of business software. What's new about that is historically people didn't really trust companies to mind or manage their important data. But I think there's been a broad, I guess, change across society really in terms of how we view data privacy, both personally and corporately. Clearly Google are on kind of the cutting edge of this, but in a way we benefit from that too, because now corporations are willing to entrust to us their private, financial, HR, social security number kind of data. We run it and we operate it and we manage all of their business processes externally. So that's a good thing. And I think Workday, so it's currently a private company. We've got about 450 employees worldwide. There's about 50 of us here in Dublin. I run the kind of a development group, one of three within Workday, which is principally based in Dublin, and I also have a bunch of people in California and in Munich. So the company doubled last year in both revenue and employee terms. We're going to double again this year, and probably within a couple of years it'll be a public company, assuming all goes well. And as I say, all doesn't always go well in the software industry. But this is just one of these kind of interesting times for the industry, and I think that sort of we have our CEO is 75, David Clarke, so he's like the kind of the oldest guy I've ever seen in the industry. But we kind of get him over to Dublin periodically, and he's very a Seawind guy, notwithstanding the fact that he arrives in his own plane. But we kind of bring him around, and he loves kind of Geraghty and Nesbitt's, and you're sitting there kind of with, it's got a surreal experience sitting in Geraghty and Nesbitt's with your 75-year-old billionaire CEO, and obviously nobody recognises him because he's not Larry Ellison or Sergey or whoever. But still, it's good that these guys are out there, and I think Ireland has a great reputation internationally for having kind of well-educated, talented, kind of motivated workforce, and that continues to attract investment. We're probably going to set up a data center here ourselves if I can't persuade the company to outsource all of our processing to Amazon, which we're looking to do. But there's just kind of there's a lot of experience, and I know that working over the years with the investors in Cape Clear, we raised about $50 million in financing over 8 or 9 years, and there was this extremely strong goodwill internationally, and there was sort of an acceptance and a willingness to invest in Ireland just on the basis of people's good experiences with companies. That said, I think it's also time for kind of Ireland to have another big software company success. Iona was clearly that. Baltimore clearly I think wasn't. We've got a lot of significant technology companies operating here. But equally, I think that there's an opportunity and indeed a need at some level for another Iona, really. Like we need another $1 billion company that starts in Ireland and originates in Ireland. Regrettably, Workday isn't that. It is in the sense that Cape Clear genetics are part of that. But I think that one of the things that sort of Andre and I talk about a lot is how we help foment that, or how we can get involved in getting that going. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurship going on in Ireland in technology and software. And not just in business software, which is kind of dull, but in like paddypower.com stuff, in kind of Twitter-related stuff, in kind of location-based kind of geo-services offshoots. There's a whole lot of that stuff going on, and that's all interesting. But I guess, sorry, I'm running out of time here, but I think that's one of the first questions that kind of I ask people when I meet them, when they're interested in either staying in the industry, getting into the industry, is first of all, are you a big company guy or are you a small company guy? And for me, that's kind of a fundamental dividing line. And the experience that you would have in a Google or an Intel is night and day to the experience you would have in a company with 1 or 2 or 10 or indeed 50 people. It's just different. Like in Workday, you're kind of chief programmer and bottle washer, and you're in a sales call in London next Tuesday, and Workday is a lot better capitalized than Cape Clear was. But I think one of the things in the technology industry is that there's kind of big company opportunities and small company opportunities, and you need to think about them quite differently. You need to approach them, I think, quite differently. They're both equally legitimate, totally valid. They're both fun things to do. But I think that as you think about what your interest is in this industry, not the ICT industry, but the technology industry, which kind of side of that fence you're